Excuse me if I sound like I'm out of breath. So we're going to be testing a Hellcat throttle body. My intake's already done to 92. This is 92. The adapter goes from 92 to 90, so still good enough. We'll be controlling all the temps, making sure everything's good on the intake and block for the before and after. Being as I don't have a 4-inch intake elbow, what I'm going to do is actually pull the elbow off the stock throttle body and dyno them both just open throttle body. That way there's literally no there's no restriction, there's no changes between the two. I'm going to baseline it with the stock throttle body and then put the other one on. We're going to check to see if we need to adjust air fuel. If it's making power, we're going to adjust fuel only, no timing. And we'll get the car back to the same, whatever temps we dynoed on the stock one. And that'll be our after pull. And then we'll do an overlay and compare and talk results. So whatever happens, it'll be a legit, I'm just going to keep it real, so if it don't gain shit or it loses, I'll keep it real, just put it that way, so stay tuned. Alright, so we already did a base pull with the throttle body, the stock throttle body open. It's made 461 and like 475 torque. It's down about 10 wheel horsepower. It's humid as fuck in here. It's hot as shit, so I don't know if that has something to do with it, or if it's legitimately the leg maker is that good of an intake that even open throttle body, it needs the leg maker. We're gonna find that out also in this video. Because after I put the stock shit back, because I don't have a coupler, I went through this. After I put the stock shit back, I'm gonna test. We're gonna do another pull and then put the leg maker back and see if it goes up in power, because that'll be cool to know too. Leg maker so far has been the best intake we've ever tested. There was another car he tested with a leg maker that was pretty much stock, and it did real good. But report my findings soon. This isn't about peak gains. We did a baseline to baseline it, and the reason I pulled the intake off was because I didn't have a coupler to fit the 90. So this makes it fair. See how this big ass throttle body sounds? Alright, so this is where we're at so far. We're going to swap my throttle body back on the stock one and put the intake tube on to see if my horsepower goes back up to where I was the other day. So this was no intake tube, stock throttle body. This was the Hellcat throttle body, also with no intake tube, with the same condition, same pull. So they both don't have the intake tube on. So what I'm going to do now is put the stock throttle body back on with the intake tube and verify that my horsepower will be around about the same as what it was the other day, which is more like around this number. And then I can come to the conclusion that these would be about the gains with the tube on. I actually think the throttle body, if we prove that the intake is worth about 10 horse, then you know, versus being off, we can come to the conclusion that we'll gain at least 10 horsepower with the bigger one like we're seeing here, and about 10 torque, and that'll be awesome. So on a head and cam car, I'm not saying your 5.7 is going to do this or your bolt-on 6.1 or anything like that. My particular combo needs the extra air, and that's apparent here, but that's pretty cool. So let's put the shit back on and see where we're at. Alright, this is hot to hot with no air intake tube. Like heat soak to heat soak. It's roughly 5 horsepower, 8 in some places across. Alright, and the next one's going to be cool to cool. I don't know why the cool's 461. And when I say cool, I did the temp laser on both of them. It made sure the intake and the heads and everything was the same temp and the oil temp. So who knows, but it gives you an idea. Yeah. All right, and this was cool to cool. Again, there's a lot of variables that go in. We just tried to prove that it either makes power or doesn't, or the same. It definitely makes power. We also found out the leg maker does legitimately make more power, a lot more down low and mid-range, and a few more horsepower up top, not being on. But yeah, so that is the findings. When I get a coupler and shit, I guess later on we'll see what it makes with the coupler. The end goal is 500 wheel out of this car with everything on. I've made 472 and 488 or 489 with my stock throttle body and the tube on, so we'll see what we make with the bigger one later. This throttle body actually ain't for me, it's for another build. Just decided to test it. It's for a stroker I'm doing, but anyway, hope that helps. And this is just for the shake of showing it, but the 472.9 and 487 is with my stock throttle body and the intake on. This is a heat-soaked run versus the last heat-soaked run without the intake. So it shows you how much the leg maker makes a difference on versus off. So yeah, I think the bigger throttle body is definitely worth it. You just got to get the right coupler, because it's going to make a difference.